Alright, it's 4 days into August, and Halloween's begun. The first couple Spirit Halloweens by me have opened up, but I'm actually not getting there on day one because I've been house sitting down in the Daytona area, so I haven't been home to go to these ones, and the one in Daytona has not opened yet. So I had to come back up here for the day, and I'm gonna go hit at least one of these spirits. I only have like 2 hours to get to the two of them, and I've already wasted half an hour driving to the first one, so we'll see if I make it to the second, but there are more supposedly opening soon. Since I know this video is probably not going to come out anytime particularly soon, I'm not going to do like a full tour or anything, but I definitely will highlight a couple things and, show anything I pick up. Alright, so my number one item that I'm looking for, the popcorn gun, was not there. It did have a fair amount of stuff for being, open so new. A lot of the times, I kind of expect going into the first time to be a lot of last year's stuff and not much of anything else. And well, I think that is true. I mean, they do carry a lot of stuff over year to year. There definitely was some new stuff in there. They had some of the newer, like, Ghostface items, I think, like that combination pack of a voice changer mask and knife. They had some of the new, Haunted Mansion stuff, things like that. All the animatronics seem to be in there. The facade, the display they've got with them this year looks phenomenal, honestly. I know they've done theming, like, all the time in there, but I feel like they've really just, like, expanded the amount of themed area and stuff they have. The cemetery vibe to it, the crypt vibe to it is really cool. And yeah, I think it's going to be a really good year for spirit stuff. Part of me wanted to buy something just to, like, I bought something at the first spirit I visited for the year, but I'm like, that's not really going to matter, beyond today. So I decided instead to, after kind of making my loop around the store, checking out the stuff, I'm going to try to hit the other one. I think I should have enough time to get in there and not be walking in the door as they close. So I'm gonna shoot for that right now. So I ended up coming out towards Orlando and stopping at the Oviedo Mall, which is right by where I went to high school, and managed to find the Killer Klowns popcorn gun. So that is like the main Spirit Halloween item I wanted, the big Halloween Spirit item I wanted for the year. So pretty happy about that. Not a whole lot else different. Actually, they were pretty understocked compared to the Jacksonville stores. They just happened to have this thing. So a little later today, I'll break this open and take a look at it and see how it really turned out. So here is the popcorn gun out of the packaging. I installed the two AAA batteries that it required to operate. So this is, in construction at least, pretty similar to the cotton candy gun from the previous, I think it was 2 years ago. They have made some upgrades to this to make it a little bit cleaner, which I have to appreciate because it is a more expensive prop. This thing I think is about $100. I did have a coupon for 20% off, so it came out to about 80 bucks. Really, particularly the thing that I'm looking at here that steps it up a bit is they didn't do it for every screw, but a lot of the screws on here, let's see if I can even find some to point out. There's some like down here and stuff. They actually put caps over where the screws go in. So while there are some that are still noticeable on here, for a lot of them they did cover them up. For a comparison with the cotton candy gun, you can see on this side there are a lot of visible screws and hardware and everything that kind of detracts from the look of it. This side looks great, but the opposite side was a bit lacking. So this is kind of the worst of the two sides that I'm showing you here, and yeah, it doesn't look too bad, honestly. They definitely kind of cleaned it up in terms of like fit and finish. Overall, the paint on it's pretty good. I have a couple little smudges and little bits on here, like little scuffs and things, but overall it looks pretty darn good. I like the patterning here on the side. All the big chunky buttons look very similar to how they did in the movie. Let's see, there's got this little like back part here. The underside, there is a little bit of a thing in the paint for where the battery case is, but not the worst. The handle and trigger are pretty good. It is a bulky gun, and I feel like if you hold it by the handle, just the main handle alone, too much, it might loosen up and start to kind of have some issues over time. But it does have the additional handle here, or to hold on to the crank on the opposite side. This piece here in the middle is kind of springy going between the top. These ball pieces, there's two here on the front and then one in front of the popper. They are a little bit soft. I had to leave this in the car for a little while and these got super pliable, and honestly I may have to heat them up again and kind of reshape them back to how they're supposed to sit. They're not too bad right now, but they did get a little warped from being in a hot car for a while. In terms of the action features, it has two. There's this trigger down here at the bottom, and when you pull that, it's a really short kind of blast noise. These three buttons here at the top all light up. The sound is pretty loud. The speaker is right here on the side. And yeah, it's just a simple little blast sound. There is a little bit of what I would call light leak coming in through the sides of this. I think on either side you can see it. So the plastic, it's not seamless on either side, so you do see bits of the internal lights flashing out. You could, in theory, open it up and patch that up probably, but it doesn't bug me enough to really worry about it. The other action feature is twofold. It includes this crank here, so it's going to play basically two different audio bits, and then you're also going to see the popcorn up here in the top start popping. So it is a much longer sound effect. It's the same lights going on here. The only real difference is the audio cue itself and then the popcorn popping in the top. That works just the same way as like that children's corn popper toy. There's a little plate in the bottom that jumps up and down when you turn the thing and makes the popcorn jump around. The popcorn's decent, but it does have a hole in the bottom of it where they molded it. So it's not the most convincing popcorn in the world, but it works well enough for something like this. The handle here is a bit of a hair trigger. I noticed that if I accidentally put it down on this side and it bumps just a little bit. It makes it go off. Only other real gripe I have with this thing is that I do wish, like the cotton candy gun, even though it's unsightly on the cotton candy gun, I do wish there was an on-off switch. I mean, there's a lot of real estate here on the bottom. You could have put one on without it being too glaringly obvious. And that's really just because, like I said, a lot of times if I bump that trigger or the handle, it'll start going. And it's nice to actually take this and shut it off, and then you can mess with it without having to worry about it making any noise or lights or anything. Whereas this thing, the only way to make it stop is to take the batteries out of it. So I would have preferred to have a little on-off switch here. But yeah, so now we have two pieces in our killer clown arsenal. Actually three, technically, because we do Oh wait, 4, because we got the acid pie and the bat. So yeah, Spirit is hooking us up with a Killer Klowns arsenal. If you would have told me like 10 years ago that Killer Klowns from Outer Space was going to be like a big thing at Spirit Halloween, I would have never believed you. It's so weird. So this next part of the video was kind of a spontaneous decision on my part. I ended up getting an annual pass to Universal Studios, and since I was kind of already out in the Orlando area and I need to pick up the physical pass, I decided to go down to the park. And I also really wanted to take a look at the Jurassic Park tribute store again before it closed. I'd gotten to go through once previously, but I was with a group and I didn't want to hold them up while I nerded out over all the little details in there. So, you know, knowing that it's going to be closing for Halloween Horror Nights soon, I wanted to be able to go through and take my time. I've been on a Jurassic Park kick. I'm probably going to do a video on that soon too. Just kind of discussing my recent obsession with those films. I mean, I've always loved those films, but like more so now I've been like collecting and obsessing over stuff from them. But that'll be its own video. In this video, I did also go and look at some horror elements throughout Universal Studios. They were just starting to set up some of the stuff for Halloween Horror Nights for the scare zones and things. By the time this is coming out, this stuff's really outdated. They've added more stuff. The food booths are up, I think, as of the other day. And you know, this isn't news for anybody. I didn't film it to be like one of those park news channel things. Just, you know, just kind of cool to document it. Usually I don't get a chance to go to Universal Studios. I mean, honestly, most years I've only gone for Halloween Horror Nights and then maybe like one other time earlier in the year. So it's kind of neat to be able to go through and at least see bits of the scare zones as they're being set up in the daylight. Whereas, you know, when I go at night, it's going to be a completely different experience. So here we go. The first couple clips you saw were from the Hollywood section of the park of the Dark Zodiac scare zone. From there, I went into what you're seeing now, which is the Five and Dime store. This is kind of the store at the end of the makeup effects show, and it has some life-size Universal monsters, and honestly just a lot of Universal monsters and horror stuff in general, given its location. Oh, it's got to pay tribute to the Gill Band here. Next up, still technically in the Hollywood section of the park, is the Jungle of Doom Expedition Horror Scare Zone. This one's really nicely themed with a bunch of kind of crumbling stones and almost Cannibal Holocaust looking stuff going on. Do have to wonder though if that scare zone name is a tribute to Expedition theme parks. Seeing that we have a Chucky house this year with kill count in the name, I feel like they might just be paying some YouTube tribute. So when do we get the Outside the Box Reviews house? Bat props over top were pretty cool. I like that they're doing some elements not just at eye level and actually making you kind of look further around. They did that in this section last year as well. It was really cool. Up in the San Francisco part of the park, there is Shipyard 32 Horrors Unhinged. Not a whole lot to see here at the moment. Some crates, some cubes, but not really anything too telling as to what we're really going to see here. Next up, I went into the Revenge of the Mummy gift shop. This section of the wall is really cool because not only can you see the Wolfman's cane up at the very top, but that big crate with the chains on it is Fluffy's crate from Creepshow. And then looking down at this desk here, there's all these references to King Kong and Carl Denham because this used to be a location of the King Kong ride. So now it's almost like Carl Denham, before he puts Kong on, is doing a mummy museum. And honestly, I just love the theming in this store. It's so cool looking and kind of underappreciated. Back outside that area in the New York section of the park is the setup for Vamp 69 Summer of Blood. I will be making all the terrible 69 jokes this year with this scare zone. The previous two Vamp and whatever year scare zones they've done have been pretty interesting. I'm curious to see how they bring in the 60s with this. Everything this year is supposed to tie into one particular character, so I do wonder if that's going to make it feel a little weird, but we'll see how it goes. Not anything to do with Halloween Horror Nights, but they did recently redo the facade of the New York Public Library, and can't look at that without thinking about Ghostbusters, and especially the old Ghostbusters show. My poor Universal Monsters Cafe. What have they done to you? And then exiting the park up in Production Central is Dr. Oddfellow's Collection of Horror, and there's nothing really there yet. So honestly, I thought I was going to shoot a couple little videos in time all together to be like a prelude to Halloween or whatever. But the last couple days have been pretty much enough on their own, I think, for a whole video. I went to a couple Spirit Halloweens. I went to Universal and checked out the Halloween Horror Night stuff that's being set up and the merch that's coming out. And then when I came back to the shop in Daytona, I ended up putting on Halloween 1978, carving a fake jack-o'-lantern for an upcoming project, and trying on a upgraded Halloween costume, or, convention costume, but, it's a Halloween, it really actually is a Halloween costume, because it's my Hobo Myers from H2, so literally a Halloween costume. So yeah, I think I managed to have a very Halloween-themed day, without even really setting out to do it. I'll be back soon with the real Halloween videos, I guess. Later.